I had known for weeks that the confrontation was inevitable. Families like mine didn't resolve problems quietly. They let them rot until they exploded. When my brother Daniel's wife discovered he had been cheating with someone she trusted, it didn't just end his marriage. It exposed the sickness that had been growing inside our family for years. And somehow, as always, the responsibility landed on me. I was the successful one. The sister who built a profitable financial consulting firm from nothing. The one who didn't ask for help, didn't complain, and most importantly, always paid. Over time, my family stopped seeing me as a person. I became a solution, a walking bank account. The security camera notification buzzed on my phone at exactly 9:43 a.m. Front door activity. I didn't move from my chair. I had left the door unlocked on purpose. Daniel's voicemail from the night before had been frantic, full of half-threats and guilt-soaked pleas. I knew he wouldn't come alone. My mother never missed a chance to apply pressure personally. What they didn't know was that my attorney had arranged something unusual that morning. Very unusual. A small red dot glowed on my laptop screen, confirming the live stream was active. 5 separate feeds, 5 silent observers. Footsteps echoed through the hallway, fast and entitled, just as they always had. My office door flew open without a knock. "Clara," my mother said sharply, "we need to talk, now." Daniel followed behind her, unshaven, wrinkled clothes, eyes darting around the room. He looked like someone whose life had collapsed overnight. If I hadn't lived through his lies for years, I might have felt sympathy. "Sit," I said calmly, "both of you." They didn't like that tone, they never did. My mother remained standing, gripping her expensive handbag like it was armor, a bag I had bought her last Christmas. Daniel dropped into the chair across from my desk, rubbing his face. "There's no time for this," my mother snapped. "Your brother needs $800,000 immediately." I didn't flinch. "No." The word hung in the air, heavier than I expected. Daniel looked up sharply. "Clara, listen, she's trying to ruin me. She wants the house, the cars, everything." "She's your wife," I said evenly, "and you betrayed her." My mother's eyes flashed. "That's irrelevant. Family helps family." "I already have," I replied, opening a folder on my desk. Over the last 5 years, I gave Daniel more than $200,000, supposedly for business expenses, mortgages, the kids' education. Daniel shifted uncomfortably. "Instead," I continued, "you spent it on vacations, gifts, and hotel rooms with the woman you cheated with." "That's a lie," my mother said instantly. "It's documented," I said. "Bank statements, photos, receipts." Her face hardened. "You've always been jealous," she hissed. "You work nonstop because you don't have a real life." The accusation almost made me laugh. My work and my money were only shameful when I didn't share them. "I'm not paying for his divorce," I said firmly. My mother stepped closer, heels clicking against the floor. "After everything we did for you." I looked up at her. "What exactly was that?" She opened her mouth, then closed it. "When I started my company, you told everyone I was irresponsible," I continued. "When I succeeded, you told relatives I must have cheated or stolen. The only time you're proud of me is when you need something." Daniel stood up abruptly. "You think you're better than us." "I think I earned what I have," I replied, "and I'm done being punished for it." "Enough!" my mother screamed. The sound cracked through the room. "You will give your brother this money," she said, pointing at me, "or you are no longer part of this family." I didn't hesitate. "No." The slap came without warning. The sharp sting exploded across my face. I tasted blood. My cheek burned where her rings had cut into my skin. Daniel smirked. "You'll pay," my mother said through clenched teeth. "Or I'll tell everyone about what you did in college." I pressed my fingers to my cheek, calm despite the pain. "You mean how I worked 3 jobs after you emptied my education fund?" Her eyes widened. "Go ahead," I said. "Tell anyone who'll listen." She raised her hand again. "I wouldn't," I said quietly. "That would make things worse." Daniel frowned. "Worse for who?" "For you," I replied. I turned my laptop toward them. 5 small screens filled the display. 5 court chambers. 5 judges watching in silence. The recording icon blinked steadily in the corner. My mother screamed. Daniel staggered back. "What is this?" "You came into my home," I said. "You assaulted me, you threatened me, and you admitted to financial crimes. All of it is recorded." "You planned this," my mother shouted. "No," I said. "You did exactly what you always do. I just stopped protecting you." A knock echoed from the front door. "Miss Carter?" a voice called. "This is Detective Mills. Please open up." Panic erupted. My mother rushed toward the back exit. Another voice stopped her cold. Daniel lunged for my laptop, hands shaking. "Too late," I said. "The files are secured." I sat back in my chair as officers entered the house. My cheek throbbed, but I didn't move. As they were escorted out, my mother turned back one last time. "You've destroyed this family." I met her eyes. "No," I said, "I just stopped letting you destroy me." The door closed. And for the first time in my life, the silence felt peaceful. The courthouse hallway felt colder than it should have, even under the bright fluorescent lights. I sat outside Judge Keller's chambers, my hands folded neatly in my lap, my face still marked by the faint purple bruise blooming beneath my makeup. The sting had dulled, but the weight of what had happened that morning pressed heavily on my chest. Beside me, my attorney, Diana Reed, reviewed her tablet in silence. She had the calm confidence of someone who had seen chaos before and knew exactly how to navigate it.
"All 5 judges have reviewed the footage," she said at last. "They want everything formally entered into Daniel's divorce proceedings."
I exhaled slowly. "How bad is it?" "Worse than they expected," she replied, "and much worse for your mother and brother." Before I could respond, the clerk opened the door and called our names. Inside, the atmosphere was grave. 5 judges sat around a long conference table, their expressions serious. A large screen displayed still frames from the video. My mother's raised hand, Daniel's smirk, the moment my cheek was struck. Judge Keller spoke first. "Ms. Carter, thank you for coming forward. We've reviewed today's incident and the documentation your attorney provided. I need to ask, how long has your family been financially exploiting you?" I took a breath. 8 years, almost since my company became profitable. At first, I continued, it was small requests, emergencies, promises to pay me back. But once they realized I wouldn't say no, it escalated. Judge Alvarez leaned forward. "Our review shows over $800,000 transferred from your accounts. That doesn't include the funds taken from your education account." Diana slid another folder across the table. "We also discovered multiple loans taken out using Ms. Carter's personal information. She was never informed." The judges exchanged uneasy glances. Judge Keller frowned. "Ms. Carter, were you aware your brother listed you as a financial guarantor in his divorce filings?" My heart dropped. "What?" "He submitted documents claiming you agreed to assume responsibility for his debts," Judge Patel said, "including any settlement awarded to his wife." I stared at the papers placed in front of me. My signature stared back, perfectly replicated. "I never signed these," I said firmly. "Those were taken from my business records." "We suspected as much," Judge Keller replied, "which is why federal investigators have been notified. This has moved beyond family court." My phone buzzed. A message from Daniel. "Fix this or I'll expose your company." I handed the phone to Diana, who immediately passed it to the judges. "This is ongoing intimidation," I said. "I have dozens of messages like this." Judge Alvarez nodded. "The pattern is clear." Judge Keller folded his hands. "Ms. Carter, may I ask, why now?" The question caught me off guard. "Why did you wait this long to come forward?" I looked down at my hands. Years of guilt rose up in my chest. "Because they're my family. Every time I tried to set boundaries, they reminded me of what I owed them. My mother cried. My brother used his kids. I kept believing it would stop." Diana spoke softly. "Until they tried to make her legally responsible for the divorce." I nodded. That's when I realized it would never end. The judges whispered among themselves. Then Judge Keller spoke again. "We are issuing an immediate protective order. Your mother and brother are prohibited from contacting you or accessing any financial accounts associated with your name. Criminal charges for assault, fraud, and extortion are being recommended." Relief hit me so suddenly my eyes burned. Another vibration from my phone. A message from my mother. "After everything I sacrificed, this is how you repay me." Judge Patel glanced at the screen. Manipulation doesn't stop easily. As we exited the chambers, Diana placed a hand on my shoulder. "You did the hardest part. The rest follows." We reached the parking lot and my stomach dropped. My car sat at the edge of the lot, its side scraped deeply with angry, jagged letters. "Traitor." Diana cursed under her breath. "We'll document this." I called the police while she took photos. As I waited, a message appeared from an unfamiliar number. "Thank you for telling the truth. I knew something wasn't right. Emily, Daniel's wife. For the first time that day, my composure cracked. Tears welled, not from fear or pain, but from relief. The responding officer was professional and sympathetic. Family financial abuse cases are some of the hardest, she said, but you did exactly what you should have done. I watched her photograph the damage. The car looked wounded, but still standing. What happens next? I asked Diana quietly. Now, she said, they face consequences, and you get your life back. That night, alone in my apartment, I replayed everything in my mind. The guilt I expected never came, only exhaustion and clarity. I realized something profound. I hadn't destroyed my family. I had simply stopped lying to protect them. Weeks passed. Investigators uncovered more than anyone expected. Hidden accounts, forged documents, years of deceit. Daniel's divorce became a federal case. My mother's involvement ran deeper than I ever imagined. One evening, as I sat at my desk reviewing reports, I touched my cheek. The bruise had faded, but the lesson remained. Family wasn't supposed to hurt like that. And for the first time, I wasn't afraid of what came next. Because the truth was finally louder than their lies. The following months were a blur of legal proceedings, investigations, and quiet victories. Each day brought new revelations, forged signatures, secret accounts, and fraudulent loans spanning nearly a decade. The FBI had taken over the financial crimes investigation, confirming what I already knew. Daniel and my mother had exploited every ounce of trust I had given them. Yet amidst the chaos, I felt a growing sense of control. For the first time, I wasn't reacting. I was acting. I wasn't just defending myself, I was reclaiming my life. Finally, the sentencing day arrived. The federal courthouse loomed above me like a fortress, but I walked in with steady steps. My sister-in-law Emily joined me. Over the past months, we had formed an unlikely bond. Both victims, we had found strength in one another. She held my hand as we entered the courtroom, a silent reassurance. All eyes turned as Daniel and my mother were brought in, flanked by marshals. Their expressions were carefully controlled, but I could see the faint tremors of fear behind their practiced composure. I had witnessed manipulation for years. I knew the signs. The clerk called the court to order, and Judge Reeves took the bench. All rise. I straightened in my seat, feeling the cool firmness of the wood beneath me. My cheek bore no trace of the assault now, but the memory remained vivid. It would remain a lesson. That courage sometimes demands standing firm even when it hurts. The victims were invited to speak. I stepped forward to the podium, my prepared statement trembling slightly in my hands. Daniel and my mother refused to look at me. I could feel Emily's encouraging gaze, steady and unwavering. For years, I began, I believed that family meant sacrificing everything for each other, that love required endless giving even when it hurt. I was wrong. I paused, letting the weight of my words settle in the room. My mother and brother didn't just take money from me. They took my trust, my sense of family, and years of my life. They used my success as a weapon, twisting every achievement into a debt I was expected to repay. I met the eyes of the court, voice steady. The physical assault in my office that morning was only the beginning. The real violence was the years of manipulation, threats, and financial abuse. Today, the truth is being acknowledged. And finally, justice is not only being served, it's being recorded, documented, and enforced. I stepped back, emotions raw but focused. Emily took her turn next, recounting the financial exploitation she had endured at Daniel's hands, particularly the manipulation of her children's college funds. Each word she spoke was measured, honest, and unwavering. The judges listened intently. When it was time to address the defendants, Judge Reeves's voice was firm. Mrs. Carter, Mr. Carter, he said, your actions show a deliberate, calculated pattern of exploitation against family members. Financial fraud, assault, and extortion have been clearly documented. The court sentences you both to 8 years in federal prison, with additional terms for each offense. Your victims are protected, your crimes are recorded, and restitution will be arranged where applicable. As they were led away, Daniel's eyes finally met mine. His gaze was a mixture of desperation and recognition. Sarah, he whispered, almost pleading. Please. The kids. They're protected, I replied. Trust accounts have been established for them. Ones you cannot access. Outside the courthouse, Emily hugged me tightly. It's really over, she said softly. Almost, I replied, a small smile forming. There's one more thing. The next day, I stood before my company's board to announce a new initiative, the Family Financial Abuse Prevention Foundation. Using a portion of the recovered funds, the foundation provided legal assistance and resources for victims of familial financial exploitation. Deanna, my trusted legal advisor, helped cut the ribbon at our first office. You've turned pain into purpose, she remarked quietly. Pain teaches lessons, I said. I learned that real family doesn't demand sacrifice. They celebrate success. They protect rather than exploit. The foundation's first client arrived sooner than expected, a young entrepreneur showing text messages from her parents, demanding she sell her thriving startup to cover her brother's gambling debts. Her eyes were wide, her hands trembling. They say I owe them, she whispered. I took her hands in mine, recalling every moment of my own ordeal. Real family protects each other from harm, I said firmly. Not demands you harm yourself for their benefit. 6 months later, a letter arrived from my mother's prison counselor. In it, she admitted her role in the abuse, acknowledging the pattern she had perpetuated. She asked if I would consider a visit. I wrote back simply, when you can respect my boundaries as much as you want my forgiveness, we can talk. Daniel's children began visiting me monthly. We never spoke of him, but I ensured they understood healthy financial boundaries. Their new college funds were secure, and Emily and I guided them, teaching lessons about independence, trust, and the value of honesty. One afternoon, I stumbled upon the old family photo album. The smiling faces and staged happiness revealed the truth I had been avoiding for years. That family I mourned never truly existed. It had been a facade maintained by manipulation and my own misplaced loyalty. But from those ashes, I had built something real. Friends who supported my choices, Emily and her children. Colleagues who valued me, and most importantly, a life I could control. The scar on my cheek had faded, but the lesson lingered. Sometimes the bravest act is saying no to those you love. Sometimes the truest family is the one you choose. And sometimes self-respect requires protecting yourself from those who claim to care most. Standing in my office where it all began, I archived my mother's contact information. The phone asked, "Are you sure?" It felt like more than a digital prompt. It was a test of every lesson I had learned. Yes, I whispered to myself. I am sure. Sure that love shouldn't cost. Sure that family shouldn't exploit. Sure that I deserve better. And most importantly, sure that I will never confuse manipulation for care again. The sunlight streamed through the office windows, illuminating the desk where the confrontation had occurred a year ago. It was no longer a place of fear. It was a place of triumph. The weight of years of abuse had lifted. I was finally free. And for the first time in a long time, I smiled without guilt.